Many people today believe that we live as long as we do because of medicine. And to a certain extent that's true, but to a much less extent than most people believe. Okay? The fact is that 100 or 150 years ago, the average lifespan was only around 45 years. And today it's 79 in most of the developed world. Okay? So, don't we live much longer? Yes, on average. Because of medicine? No, not really. Okay? What happened, I mean, and medicine had something to do with it, but again, it's not what they make it out to be. It's not like we're living longer because we all take drugs when we get sick. That doesn't make us live longer. Okay? Drugs are toxic and harmful and never heal disease. They only ever suppress symptoms. That's all they can do. Toxic substances can't make you healthier. They can make you feel better by suppressing symptoms. And there may be times that's appropriate, but they don't actually make you healthier. They don't cure disease. They never have and they never will. That's not possible. So why is it that people live 35 years longer than they used to? Well, the reason is simply that 100 years ago, in Germany, I recently looked at some data. In Germany, 100 years ago, 50% of babies didn't survive infancy. 50%. 1 out of every 2 children born didn't make it to the age of 3. Okay, it wasn't that different in the United States and other parts of Europe, but it just said in Germany. I looked at, I was looking up data in Germany, 50%. Okay, so think about that. Okay, today in the developed world, well over 99% of infants survive to adulthood. And in the old days, 50% didn't survive infancy, and another percentage didn't survive childhood. A fair number. I mean, it was common for a woman to have 12 babies and to have, 3 or 4 grown children later in life, because most babies did not survive. Let's just look at the 50% number. Okay. Now, so the fact is that the babies, by the way, that survived to adulthood lived on average to about 72, which means that we don't live twice as long, or nearly twice as long like they make it out to be, but we live around 9% longer. Now here's the question, first of all. We'll come back to but 9% longer, okay? At what quality of life? Okay, because the average person, I don't know if you're aware of this, in the United States, for instance, where way too much money is spent on healthcare, the United States outspends every other nation. Something like 5 to 1 on healthcare is average. 4 or 5 to 1. Okay, more than other developed countries. Way more money spent on healthcare. And yet, currently enjoys, I haven't looked at the statistics lately, but it's always been something like the 27th best health in the world. How's that possible? How's one of the wealthiest countries in the world, who way outspends every other nation, doing much more poorly than everyone else? Well, 75% of healthcare dollars in the U.S. are spent in the last 2 years of life. What does that mean? They're heroic measures for people who are already, they've already got 1 foot in the grave. They're already so sick, they are not going to survive. So, yeah, people live longer because they're on machines or they're in comas, they're being kept alive, but is that a life anybody wants? I'd rather be dead, personally. Okay? So, you want to think about, first of all, how much longer are we really living? Not that much longer. At what quality of life? And then the simple numbers, right? You understand what I'm saying with the babies, not surviving? Does everyone understand that? Mm-hmm. Simple statistics. If 10 babies are born and half of them die and half of them live to 80, the average lifespan is 40. If half of them die at childbirth. The average lifespan is 40. Does that mean people live to 40? No. Adults people that survive live to 80, but half of them don't make it. That's how the average lifespan is so skewed by what used to happen. And again, part of this was simply as simple as doctors washing their hands before delivering a baby. And other fairly simple changes, okay? It's not drugs, it's not chemotherapy. These aren't things that are making us live longer, and they're certainly not, for most of us, giving us a better quality of life. Does that make sense to everyone?